For a long time, they were considered a pioneer in the marine life protection movement and was considered the gold standard for marine mammal care, as stated by Elizabeth Batt in her article for the Dolphin Project in 2017. For a long time, they trumpeted the idea that they had created significant strides in the current knowledge of orcas and stood by their mission statement of animal conservation and rescue efforts. However, after the release of the documentary Blackfish in 2013, it had drastic impacts on SeaWorld and its reputation. After conducting in-depth research on this topic, today I'm going to talk about the claims that Blackfish has made against SeaWorld, reasons why they were able to have orcas in captivity for so long, how it impacted the company, and what actions SeaWorld has taken since then. Inspired by the death of trainer Dawn Brancheau in 2010, the film makes two central claims. First, that life at SeaWorld is harmful for the orcas and the trainers that work with them. And second, that SeaWorld has attempted to cover up the details surrounding the death of Dawn Brancheau and the history of Tilikum, the orca involved in the incident. The film follows Tilikum, an orca who had spent at least or more than 30 years in captivity and was responsible for the deaths of 3 people. 1 at Sealand, a now obsolete marine park in British Columbia of the Pacific, and 2 at SeaWorld. They claim that Tilikum was psychologically damaged and violent due to his time in captivity. They show images of the captures that started the industry, the physical and social stresses that the orcas underwent, including separation of calves from their mothers, and the hostility that orcas have displayed against their trainers. While it's important to acknowledge that the film has its biases and does not always present its information in the most objective manner, there's still validity behind some of their claims. SeaWorld has claimed they have made significant strides in the knowledge of orcas. However, in 4 dozen orca-related papers co-authored by SeaWorld-backed researchers in the past 40 years, at least half of those were published before 1990, and only 10 of those were between 2010 and 2014. A third of these papers does not focus on captive orcas. Studying orcas in the wild has also become less difficult and less invasive, which makes having orcas in captivity not as important. This evidence was found by Tasneem Raja in her 2014 magazine titled SeaWorld's Weird Science. They've also made questionable claims regarding the well-being of their orcas and the trainers. The trainers have died on SeaWorld's watch, and this has been cited as enough reason to look at the lack of measures that SeaWorld has put in place to ensure the safety of their trainers. The Occupational Safety and Health Administration, or OSHA, determined that SeaWorld violated employee safety by allowing them to have close interactions with the orcas. This was revealed in a lawsuit that ensued following the death of Dawn Brancheau between SeaWorld and OSHA. Blackfish also cites another reason why the orcas were disserviced for so long, and that's the lack of effective legislation. Passed in 1972, with the intention of preserving and protecting aquatic animals, the Marine Mammal Protection Act, or MMPA, had many shortcomings. This became evident in the court case between SeaWorld and OSHA, and revealed a checkered past of injuries, deaths, and misinformation at the hands of the park's upper management. The MMPA claimed to support and provide protection for aquatic animals and their role in the marine ecosystem, but it allowed SeaWorld to get away with their mistreatment of the orcas due to its ambiguity. They had professionally set standards that were supposed to be enforced, but there was a lack of enforcement, and therefore the industry had a lot of control over their own actions, and there was a lack of accountability. The film has made a dramatic impact on SeaWorld. Dubbed as the Blackfish Effect by National Geographic author Tim Zimmerman in his article titled First Person, How Far Will the Blackfish Effect Go? He says that the degree to which the film has inspired action by the public has been dramatic. It sparks protests, support from celebrities, petitions from children to withdraw school field trips, and brands to cut ties with SeaWorld, such as Southwest Airlines and Taco Bell. It has brought nationwide criticism of the park's practices, and has sparked conversation about having marine mammals in captivity. It has led SeaWorld to change its practices, but I will go into more detail about that later. Stephen W. Schoen, in his 2016 volume of Journal of Florida Studies, puts this well. He says, the decisions made by SeaWorld after the release of the film marks a remarkably clear and rare example of a single media text disrupting a multi-million-dollar business model. The documentary is credited as the reason for the drastic decrease in park attendance and 84% dive in profits 2 years after its release, as stated by Rupert Neate in his article for The Guardian in 2015. However, SeaWorld has made promising strides. In 2016, they announced that they were stopping orca breeding and theatrical shows featuring the orcas across all 12 of their parks. This is following the signing of the Orca Protection and Safety Act by Governor Jerry Brown, which outlawed uneducational shows featuring the orcas and captive orca breeding. But they decided to implement this policy across all 12 of their parks, with it going into full effect by 2019. Many people have advocated for the orcas currently in SeaWorld's captivity to be released in sanctuaries, but SeaWorld has said that the best and safest future for these whales to let them live out their lives in the best state-of-the-art habitats. And this was shared by Kristen Hugo in her article, her 2016 article for National Geographic titled "Orca Breeding and Shows Banned in California." However, SeaWorld is planning to replace their theatrical shows with an educational program called Orca Encounters, which is described on their website as occurring in a more natural habitat and allows for observation of the orcas and more natural behaviors. However, SeaWorld has still been affected by Blackfish and the negative consequences that it's had, as its attendance across all 12 parks has dropped by 4% in 2017. However, the problem does not start and end with SeaWorld. The release of Blackfish and the consequent scrutiny of SeaWorld has started a conversation about the ethics of having marine mammals in captivity, but there are still many orcas held in countries all over the world, including France, Spain, China, Japan, and many more. The release of Blackfish has had dramatic impacts on SeaWorld, and has arguably caused a chain reaction that has ended up benefiting these animals previously known as the stars of the Shamu show. At the basis of the controversy has emerged an important conversation of whether or not marine mammals should be in captivity and whether they should be used for entertainment. I highly encourage you to become educated on this topic, as it affects everyone who has ever decided to go to SeaWorld and watch an orca show, and SeaWorld has become a household name. Thank you.